Hi there, this is Dana. In this quick video, I'm actually going to be talking about what Japan threads are. So if you've never seen gold work or any kind of metallic thread embroidery, this is a real one. This is real metal threads. This is a project I'm working on from the Royal School of Needlework. So you can see this is actual metal thread actual metal threads. This is pearl. There's various types of braids, things like that. And they're couch down, which is a stitching technique that I'll mention later, basically where you're just catching the threads very carefully with another thread that matches the color, and that keeps them all on the surface because they're too thick to be able to stitch through your surface. So what Japan threads are is they're sort of a substitute for these. You can use them interchangeably with some metallic threads. The nice thing about Japan threads is they don't actually tarnish like real metal threads will. So here's some examples here. So I've got two different colors here. This is Japan thread number 5, and this is number 7. What the difference in the numbering is the thickness. So you can see the number 7 is a little bit thicker than the number 5, and it also goes down to a number 1 Japan thread, which is similar in density to the cord. The cord is slightly finer. These are all by Krennic company. They're really, really lovely. So what Japan threads originally was they were real metal that was pounded down into a very thin sheet and then wrapped around a central core like horsehair. Now it's a synthetic metal that's wrapped around a polyester core. So they do have a percentage of real metal, but it's mostly synthetic and polyester. But because they're a wrapped thread, and you can sort of see that here where it's been roughed up a little bit, you can actually see the wrapping there. You don't actually want to stitch directly with them like I was mentioning because they are thicker, and if you try to pull the threads through your fabric, it's actually going to strip off that outer coating of the metallic thread and you're just left with the core. And then you're like, well, what's the point? That's not shiny at all. It's not fun. So with a lot of the metallic threads, so the Japan threads, you do have to couch them down, which is what I was explaining, where you're basically catching the threads with another thread. The exception is the number 1 Japan thread. Like I said, it's quite similar in weight to the cord. That one you can actually stitch with. You can actually couch down your thicker Japan threads, or things like the ribbon. Beautiful. This is 1/8 inch ribbon. And your number 12 braid, I've got some here. Just beautiful. So pretty. I love this stuff so much. You can use the number 1 Japan thread to couch these down, or you can use another thread. Like I've got some, this is Gutermann, 100% polyester, color 865. This matches the gold in these Japan threads really, really well. And also there is copper as well, which is beautiful. So we've got number 5 and number 7 again. Again, I've got some Gutermann thread. You can also use a thin strand of, one strand of like DMC embroidery floss to couch them down. It is recommended though to use sewing thread just because sewing thread is stronger and it's less fluffy. Sometimes DMC, especially if it's been around a while, when you try and stitch with it, it'll get a little bit fluffy and that texture might be visible a little bit on the surface of the Japan threads when you're couching them down. But yeah, they are just gorgeous. I really, really like them. With Japan threads too, one thing to note is you don't iron these and don't wash or get them wet. The reason is the central core of the Japan threads, like you can see here, you can see the white core there. The central core will swell if it gets wet, which actually makes the wrapping sort of look further apart. And I found it actually takes the metallic finish off as well. Like it gets duller if you do that. So I'd really recommend not washing them. So if you're going to be using Japan threads in a project, I'd really recommend washing your project before you put the Japan threads on and then put the Japan threads on. It's not ideal. Like usually you'd want to wash your project right at the end after you finish touching it, but it's a good compromise because you don't want to get these wet. One shall say exemption, I guess, from this is the number 1 cord. For some reason, I guess because it's so much finer, because I've tried it with the number 12 braid and with the ribbon as well. So these are actually made up of a bunch of number 1 Japan threads that are woven together. So the number 12 braid is 12 strands of the number 1 thread woven together. So I have actually done some experimentation, and I found that if you get these woven ones that are made out of the number 1 cord, Japan thread wet, they don't have the same tendency to swell, and they don't have the same tendency to lose their luster. But again, I would just be on the safe side and not use them. You can see in the picture I'm showing you now, this is a little sneak peek of an upcoming cross-stitch pattern collection. I'll put the details into the video description once that's launched, but you can see the Japan threads being used on the top surface of the flower, and then I'm actually using the number 12 braid as well for the stems, or the stems of each leaf. Using that as a detail as well. So they're all couched down, and they're couched down using this Gutermann thread here is 865. As long as it's close-ish, it doesn't have to be exactly precise, it's fine. You can actually even do couching with a different color thread, and it makes it look really cool. It creates a really cool pattern. One thing I will say too is with the Japan threads is they're significantly less expensive than the real metal threads. Like this pearl here, this beautiful coil, it's like almost like a spring metal thread. It depends on where you buy it from, but it's roughly $15 a yard or a meter, which is a lot. It's actually, most places it's sold by weight because of each type of metallic thread has a different metal percentage in it, so it's actually, a lot of them are sold by weight. So you're paying like $15, a meter or a yard, as opposed to like $3-ish, depending on where you buy these from, for that's 10 meters. So they're significantly less expensive, and like I said, they won't tarnish. Real metal threads always will tarnish. These ones won't. Of course, eventually they might get dull and stuff like that if you've been touching them a lot, but that's the way it goes with anything, really. The more you touch it, the more likely it is to eventually get a little bit yellow and deteriorate and all the things. That's why archivists and gallery workers always wear gloves when they're touching their items. So I hope that was informative for you. If you'd like to learn more information about how to actually use the Japan threads in a project, like for those the pattern images I was showing you earlier, then I would really recommend going to the class that's linked below. It's actually, the link is going to go to my main stitching classes page on my website, and then from there you can see the one that's it's called Couching and Beading. So it's actually a little project that's based off of one of the new patterns that's coming out soon, so you'll learn how to do couching and beading in that class. So I'd really recommend that, because I go into a lot of detail about how to actually attach these threads properly, again, caring for them, all the things. So I hope you enjoy that class if you decide to take it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Have a nice day!